There we go.
Okay.
All right. Oh, man.
I got it.
Now we're good. All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to the November 14th meeting of the Metropolitan School District of North Posey. And we'll open the meeting by joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Guy, we want to do the vision mission.
Yes. Our vision is we inspire all students to achieve their potential for learning and life in a safe and supportive environment. Our mission is we partner with our community to create a dynamic and innovative educational experience, empowering students to become educated, productive, and responsible citizens. Our core beliefs: we believe our community is vital to our educational success. Everyone is valued and treated with respect and always telling the truth. An educational opportunity for all. Student-centered programs, challenging and inspiring learning in the pursuit of excellence through a strong sense of pride. And our high priorities are enhancing the student experience, investing in teachers and administrators, fostering strong relationships among all, and maximizing resources.
Excellent. I wanted to take a moment and have a moment of silence in memory of Margaret Rapp, who was a 20-year plus teacher in the school corporation. She passed away in late September. We didn't get a chance to do that in October, and wanted to take a moment during this meeting. Her family was pretty integral with this school corporation, with her husband Ernie being a former superintendent as well. So if you'd join me, take a moment. Thank you. First item on the agenda is patrons' concern. We'll let it be noted that there were none signed up. Don't believe anybody. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the minutes, the claim docket, and consent items that were previously sent out. I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
I make a motion that we approve the consent items.
Second. So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mrs. Will. Any comments or questions?
This covers claim items too, is that correct?
Yes.
I've got a real problem with the sound concepts and visual. I'm not sure what the name of the company is.
Sound and light.
Sound and Light. Looking at the job they done in the auditorium with that speaker sitting right down in front of the, I can't imagine a professional company doing that without doing something to call to attention or whatever. I think it's, you have a group in there wanting to use that screen, 24-foot screen, and they're displaying a 12-foot. They're using a 12-foot screen because they don't have any room to do it. It's like walking through having a door in your house that's only 4 foot 6 inches tall. You can get in and out, but it doesn't work, and it doesn't work right. And I know this has already been taken care of or paid or whatever, but I just want to go on record that I think he's also got 2 other jobs pending, and I know they're supposed to be back ordered on parts and stuff like that, but it's been 6 months since the softball thing was over, and I can't imagine 6 months time. I'm reasonably sure that if it's Evansville Vanderburg wanting to do something, he'd probably come up with that, and I just think we're getting kicked back on the back burner. I think we need to seriously look at trying to find somebody else to do this.
I experienced it at the volleyball banquet last week, and I agree with Larry. It's not acceptable work. It's ridiculous, really, to see the picture, how small it is on that screen. And even if what we're looking at here tonight's already been paid. I don't think they should get another penny until it's brought up to standard.
So both Larry and Vince have talked to me, and I kind of investigated the situation today and talked to Dominique. I was made aware of it about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Brian brought it to my attention at that time, and so much like what Vince said, we're going to hold. We've got some other projects going right now. We're going to hold on paying for those projects. I've spoke to Dominic this morning and told him that we need to get this fixed, and he said he's more than willing to come to the table with us and get it fixed. And we're going to bring Jake in, Brian in, as well as Sean, to make sure that we get it addressed and get what we want in this situation. So he's going to look at his schedule to see if we can do it next week. Of course, it's Thanksgiving next week. We're only here for 2 days. If not, next week will be the first of the following week, and I will keep you guys updated, let you know when that meeting is and how we're going to resolve the situation. But I agree with Larry. We want to try to fill out that whole screen and make it as big. We have one of the top, in my opinion, we have one of the best facilities in the northern part of this county to host things. We want it to be something that we can be proud of. And so we're definitely going to get it taken care of. As far as the softball, that's something that he talked to me about and a few months ago and said, I've got the product in. Are you okay with us holding it and let me get some other jobs done before we get out there? And that time I said yes. And I told him today, I said the board would like for us to get this done ASAP and go ahead and get it installed. And so he's going to move that up for us and get it taken care of. So
He's going to have to impress me tremendously before I vote for asking him to do anything else anymore work, because we're getting ready to put a PA system into the football field. We're getting ready to do a new PA at the junior high and high school. Is that right?
No,
Junior high?
I'm not aware of anything there.
I
So
thought we were doing some kind of.
no. So we're waiting.
The clocks and the intercom clocks.
He's not doing
Intercom.
He's not doing that. No. So, but we are waiting. He has ordered the speaker for the main gym, that speaker that's out there. So he said that should be coming in the next few weeks or so, or sooner possibly.
Just for clarity, then what we're voting on tonight is technically something that's already been paid out, but we won't have anything else coming in on claims like this that.
Right. We'll hold everything and will not pay anything else until we get this fixed with them. So, and I made that clear to him today. So,
Overnight.
oh, yes. You're talking about the one for etymology. So we have, just wanted to point out to you that we had the overnight request trip for the etymology contest group to go to state. This was kind of a last minute thing because they just won and was recognized like just a few days ago. So there are 2 students attending. It's like 2 males and 2 females. Travis Kester is going to be going with Robin Bender to this. It's total cost expected to be $10. I think this was added, but we just wanted to point that out for you tonight. Also, I wanted to talk just a moment. Patrick Rose submitted his resignation today as a math teacher at the high school. We were all very shocked by this because Pat is a great addition to our program and stuff. I actually took some time this afternoon, went out, wished him the best. I spoke to him as well as to Sean, and he was just offered something in the public sector that he felt like he could not pass up at this point in time. And so, he felt like that it was time to get out and go into that situation. But he's going to be truly missed. We wish him the best. It will be effective at the end of this first semester. So we're going to begin looking for that situation there. Also, I wanted to bring you up to date. Rusty was released today and is on his way home from his open heart surgery. He's doing very well. So they're going to take two legs coming home, not really sure to try to push it, but continue to pray for him and his recovery and stuff. So as he goes through that. So just kind of want to bring you up to date on those.
Okay, so the motions previously made, are you guys okay, including the overnight trip?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? And it's not uncommon that our claim docket that there's items that have been paid that we're approving after the fact. That's a pretty normal course of business. Okay, having a first and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. New business, we need to open the public hearing for the 1028.
Yeah, so Jacob's gonna take over here and kind of share with you as well as Matt. We have both of them with us this evening, so.
Sure, and I guess if it makes sense, since the next 5 items on the agenda are kind of all related, maybe I'll talk high level. I'll talk about the process, and then I'll turn it over to Matt to talk about the financials. And then if you want me to walk you through each item individually, I can, but.
Hold on, before you get going
Go ahead.
too far, sorry. Are you notating that we are officially opened the public hearing for the
Do I need
1028?
to?
Yes,
Where do I know that?
somewhere in your minutes.
Okay, do I need to make it a certain time? Let's do it
Yeah,
here.
you do.
Yeah, just say-
Don't use that clock.
It's 6:45.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll give you a
Okay.
card.
Okay.
We just need to make sure that's there, so
Okay.
we know everybody else can see that we follow protocol. All right, sorry.
So this first step is the 1028 hearing, and that statutorily you're required to have a 1028 hearing and vote on the project. And when we get to the 1028 resolution in your packet, it shows that you consider the tax impact and that you understand what the project is. Matt will talk about the tax impact. The next hearing is to take public comment on the appropriation of the proceeds of the bonds into your budget. So that's what that hearing is for. And then we'll have a resolution to approve the project. That's the 1028 resolution. Then the bond resolution, and the bond resolution goes into the specifics about the bonds. It's bonds in the amount not to exceed 1,600,000, rates not to exceed 7%, final maturity not longer than 12 years. It'll go into the project description, and that there are general obligations. So this won't be through your building corporation. This will be a direct obligation to the school corporation, and then not subject to optional redemption prior to maturity. And then the last resolution is to approve the appropriation of the proceeds of the bonds once they're sold into your budget. So just for purposes of this public hearing, just so we have the project description in the record, the bonds would be for general improvements, upgrades, equipping, renovations to school buildings of the school corporation, including but not limited to interior renovations and upgrades at the high school, the middle school, the elementary schools, and the special services facility, including painting, ceiling repairs, bleacher improvements, repairs and replacements, railing replacements to the second floor railing at the high school gymnasium, high school hot water heater repairs and replacements, installation of school fire systems, intercom improvements, playground repairs, upgrades and replacements, exterior door upgrades and replacements at all school buildings, classroom furniture replacements, energy efficiency upgrades, clock and security communications replacements and upgrades, roofing repairs and replacements, and other improvements, renovations, equipping, upgrades, and repairs to the school corporation's facilities. Now, that is a laundry list of things that you may do. If you want to include the things that you may do, but there's also kind of a catch-all in there. So if something were to come up, you will have authorized it. But this doesn't mean you're locked into doing all those projects. It's just a laundry list of items. So
Something could be added then, like you said. with the-
yeah, we have other improvements, renovations, equipping, upgrades, and repairs to the school corporation's facilities. But generally, you want to let the public know, like, hey, here are the things we're kind of considering. So that's why there's the list before that, kind of catch all. So with that, I'll turn it over to Matt maybe to talk about the finances, and I'm happy to answer any questions too about process.
Anybody want hard copy of what I'm gonna walk through on the TV?
I'd love that. if you have an answer.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right. Great to see you all again. Matt Shoemaker with Stiefel. I'm going to walk you through a few quick pages here just with information. Happy to answer any questions that the board or public has. So feel free to stop me at any time. If we start with the assessed value, I know we talked about this a couple months ago when we got together. The assessed value for the school corporation saw a significant jump for pay 2023. So going into next year, that assessed value is going to climb significantly. This graph just charts where your assessed value has been going back through 2016. As you know, you guys have two different debt funds, one from the consolidation and one from all the new debt that you have been doing. So we've broken this out by your debt fund and then track that. The reason we show this is as your tax base or your assessed value increases, if the goal is to keep a steady tax rate, the school corporation can borrow money, add payments to their debt fund, and do so without increasing the tax rate. So you and many other school corporations in the state saw significant growth in their tax base this year. And so a lot of those schools are taking advantage of borrowing extra money, doing projects maybe a little earlier than they anticipated, but doing so without increasing the tax rate. So everything I'm talking about tonight is assuming that the tax rate stays stable moving forward. We can accomplish that and borrow money because of the assessed value growth that we see going into next year. This page shows a total tax rate projection. Again, we showed the assessed value based on your debt fund. This looks at your total tax rate. You have your operations fund, which is the old transportation, bus replacement, and CPF funds. And then you have your two debt service funds. Those combined give you the total tax rate. You can see in 2021, you were about 92 cents. 2022, this budget year, we're at 93 cents. But then beginning in 2023, 24, 25, that tax rate is projected to drop because of that assessed value growth. So when we look at this page, this is the hole that we can fill in, borrow money, pay it back quickly, make sure that we're not adding a lot of interest costs by paying it over a long period of time, but do so without increasing the overall tax rate. So the goal is to stay about 93 cents and a little bit of change from 22 to 23. We go to the next page. This illustrates what I just talked about. So simply filling in the hole in 2023 and 2024, if we're looking at a 2-year payback, the final amount that the school will get will be subject to what interest rates are at the time of the bond sale. I know we're still roughly 4 weeks away from selling the bonds. Interest rates have been increasing steadily this entire year. We actually saw a pretty big rate drop on Friday. The inflation number came out last week, a little better than expected. That made everybody happy. If you followed the stock market, I think the Dow was up maybe 1,200 or so. That translated to our market as well. We saw interest rates actually come down a little bit. Historically speaking, interest rates are still a little bit below average over the past 20 years, but when we look over the last decade, we are significantly higher than where we have been. The good thing about this is if you're paying it back over a couple years, even if the rate is a little bit higher, that interest cost still is fairly minimal. If we were paying this back over 15 or 20 years, that higher interest rate compounds really quickly. So here we're looking at a 2-year payback. We're thinking we're going to net roughly 1.3 million. Based on where you are today, it's probably closer to 1.4 million, but we put a little bit of cushion in here should rates continue to rise. But again, we'll know that when the bonds are officially sold here over the course of the next month. Any questions before I go through the parameters that you'll see in the resolution? Okay, so as Jacob talked about, you're going to be passing several resolutions tonight. This just takes all of that, brings the financial information to one page so that you don't have to read each and every line. Par amount of the bonds, this is a not to exceed number. This does not lock you into borrowing the full amount. It means you can borrow any amount up to that number. As I mentioned, this is a little bit contingent on where interest rates are at that time. So if interest rates increase and you can only borrow 1.4 million, we'll borrow whatever number can get you to a tax rate that does not increase. So if it's 1.4 or 1.5, depending on interest rates, it'll be some number less than this contingent on where interest rates are on the day of sale. So we've set the not to exceed at 1.6 million. Estimated cost of issuance, these are upfront fees. This is a conservative number. It's going to be less than this, but this, we always want to paint kind of the worst case scenario, flexibility for the parameters. Of 100,000, that leaves estimated proceeds available at 1.5 million. Again, that's if you borrow the full 1.6 million. If you only borrow 1.5 million, you'll net about 1.4 million. Estimated interest rates at 5%. It's hard to believe, but that's about where interest rates are these days when it comes to the municipal market. This time last year, we were doing 2-year paybacks for less than 1%. It's hard to believe it's gone up that quickly, but that's just the world we're in right now. Estimated interest expense. So if you borrow the full 1.6 million at a 5% interest rate, you're looking at an estimated interest expense of just over 100,000, about 104,000. Again, this number will come down if interest rates are less or if you borrow a little bit less. Estimated maximum tax rate impact of 8 cents. You'll notice that I said tax neutral a bunch of times, that the rate is not going to increase, but this says there is going to be a maximum tax rate impact. This is purely a statutory formula. So it takes the payment that you're going to make, the largest payment in any one year, and it simply divides it by your assessed value. Doesn't take into account as you pay off other bonds. It only looks at a snapshot of what your largest payment is and your assessed value. So as I showed you the total tax rate page a few pages ago, how we're going to have a drop off as you're paying off some of this other debt and your net assessed value is going to increase. The statutory formula does not let us take that into account for your resolution. The net impact, what taxpayers are going to see on their tax bill, is going to be a 0 cent increase. So I always like to spend a minute to explain this, because a lot of people will see this and say, that's not what you just said. But again, purely formulaic, this is what the taxpayers will actually see on their tax bill. That's all I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
Except Lois doesn't get any questions.
So one other thing I should have mentioned, I guess as far as timing, I saw, are you guys taking up the budget at your next meeting? Will that be the last? Or is
No, we've already done it.
It's already been done.
It's already
Okay.
done. It had to be done by November 1st, so we're.
Yeah, so then we'd be looking at pricing response when everything passes tonight, probably early December, mid-December, with a closing in late December. And then for purposes of this hearing, I don't know if you want to talk just kind of high level about the needs based, related to the project.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot, and I've been collecting prices and stuff and just having some contractors in, and keep in mind that a lot of this stuff will be bidded out. It's just trying to figure out what can we do. And actually, I've already come up with a list of about 1.5 million on my list. So that just shows you we've got more needs. But North Posey High School gymnasium ceiling, as you guys know, the paintings start to flake off and stuff. The North Posey High School gymnasium main floor bleachers, North Posey High School hot water heaters need to be replaced. There's 2 of those out there. The railing on the 2nd floor, the fire system at the high school, junior high, high school, middle school intercom system improvements, North Elementary 3rd through 4th playground, North Elementary School exterior doors, North Elementary, South Terrace Elementary School's classroom furniture replacement for grades 1 through 3. North Elementary energy efficiency. As we've said, we've explained this. This is with Duke Energy. They approached us about 2 months ago, and at that time, we really did not have the budget or the money to be able to do that. And that will be something that will actually save us money in the future by putting that in. They're going to come in and replace all of our lighting at North Elementary with LED lights to reduce our energy consumption over there. South Terrace intercom clock replacement as well. And then the North Posey Health Clinic roof needs replaced as well. So that's the list that we've kind of put together at this point in time of some things. And of course, with everything else going up, the prices, as I've kind of circled back to some people I talked to a year or so ago, prices have gone up anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 over what it was originally. So, but those are some things that we've looked at. So
if there's any other questions, if not, then it would be time to take public comment. So.
Any of you have questions?
I do have questions, more for you. So we have this list of projects, right? So will the board get to vote on which projects we're going in for?
Yeah. So what will happen is we can either vote on the projects, or like as we get the pricing and we say, hey, we're ready to do this, we would bring the quote to the board or the bids to the board. So, some of them are small projects, like the water heaters at the high school are $6,000, So that might be something that, hey, they're broke, they need to be fixed.
Right.
The high school gymnasium, we're going to bid that out because we've got a quote of about $640,000. So that's one that we'll bid out. we'll get those bids in, and then we'll bring the bids to the board and stuff.
And there could be a case that if we're not happy with the bids, that we just don't do that project.
Yeah.
That's my, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's why.
And if there's something else that you guys want to do, then please let me know. There are some things that we can put into our operations budget that we've talked about with sports related things. We can spend up to 90,000 in operations underneath state law. And so we put some things in there and tried to focus this more on academics and stuff. But, the gymnasium, the bleachers, those are big ticket items that we really could never afford to pay out of our operations.
And where does, I'm gonna call it life skills, but we already looked at some life skills, like redoing that classroom.
Yes, so that's coming out of, we've got special education, that ESSER funds, we've got kind of like a special education bucket there for about 80,000. And then the other 450,000 is gonna come out of operations, and we've planned for that.
Okay, that's why I didn't hear that in there, and that's why.
Yeah, and we debated about whether we wanted to take it out of this or take it out of operations. Right now, we've got it coming out of operations.
And I think that's kind of one of the benefits of doing this. It does give you an option
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
You know.
We're trying to be very strategic. I mean, we've looked through this list, we've talked to the Stefanago group, we've talked to Hafer, Michelle and I have gone back and forth. I've played with it sometimes to try to figure out how do I stretch this as far as I possibly can. So, yeah. And I'm not at all happy right now with my high school gymnasium ceiling dollar figure. I'd like to bring that one down a lot.
Okay, I just feel like we spend a lot on sports facilities wise. I would like to see some of it go for either safety or academic or educational.
Yeah.
I know you said.
Yeah, and so like, for example, North Elementary School exterior doors, we just got back the quote for that. That's about $162,000 to do those doors over there, so. And that's one of those, I've got to check, I sent that to Stefano Group to say, is there anyone else that we can get bids from? Because that's kind of a specialty kind of thing, so it's like what other companies out there can do this, so.
We have several agenda items that are all related here. I have some thoughts. Do you want to wait until there's a motion in a second on the first one, or do you want me to throw it out there now?
Might as well throw it out there now.
You guys know as I think I write, so that's what I did here. So I'm pretty well just going to read this, and feel free to correct any of my thinking if it's off base. I completely understand the need for more funding. This is nothing new. The need is constant. My opposition to this bond at this particular time is based on several factors. I think it's important to state we are only having this discussion because property tax assessments continue to increase across the state and within the district. When the state of Indiana put property tax caps in place over a decade ago, it became quite clear assessments would continue to climb. The entire system is really a political ruse, in my opinion. The trend in Indiana government has been to take what was once locally controlled and move it under state level management. In public education, this has resulted in many corporations being forced to rely on local referendums to survive. And thankfully, we haven't been in that position yet, but if we keep going this route, it's coming. If a school corporation ever hopes to successfully pass a referendum, it must have great rapport with its taxpayers. Taxpayers need to be constantly made aware of the finances and needs of the corporation. This should be a constant process when done correctly. Thinking back to the last bond process a couple of years back, I feel like the relationship between North Posey and its taxpayers was strained. Weeks ago, I stated if the corporation wanted to take out additional debt at the expense of the taxpayer, it needs to be explained. I was really hoping to see a series of emails and videos and social media posts explaining the immediate need for the bond and the exact projects which need to be addressed. This is happening now, but it didn't happen up until this point. Our communities have always supported our schools when a need is explained. Based on Stifel's projections, if North Posey did not approve this bond, and based on the state growth quotient projections alone, our tax rate would be back up to 2021 levels within about 3 years. And to be fair, North Posey's tax rate is very middle of the road compared to our neighboring corporations. And when the corporation has needs, this is an ongoing conversation that I think we should be having with our taxpayers, so they're always aware of what our needs are. With another corporation bond rolling off in 2024, I think that would be the more obvious time to make adjustments if the administration, the board, and the taxpayers find it necessary. So quite honestly, what we have here is an easy political opportunity. It's an opportunity to take out additional debt at the expense of the taxpayer under the political cover of a level tax rate. I would argue that most taxpayers pay little attention to their tax rate. What they do pay attention to is the dollar amount on the check that they write each spring and fall for their property taxes. And additional debt by a public entity can only be repaid by additional taxes. That's just the facts. I'm absolutely in favor of keeping our taxpayers informed of the current and future needs of the corporation. I'm willing to have a conversation about the future tax implications of those needs. I'm not willing to approve a bond which hasn't been explained well, and most taxpayers I don't think even know is being considered.
Anyway. The only comment I would make is the taxpayers are going to pay more in taxes regardless of what we do, because there's a lot of other taxing entities in our county that are going that play into the whole tax bill. We're one piece of that. What we're trying to do is keep our tax rate for our taxing entity level, and we can't control what the other ones do.
But a level rate on an increased assessment is a raise in your tax.
That's right. No, you're exactly right.
Just out of curiosity, like how else do you expect us to tell them? It was posted in the Posey County News, right?
It was. In my opinion, this is something that should be part of the monthly discussions. These are our needs. I don't know if it goes on the webpage. This was a unique situation in that we weren't aware that this was even a possibility. We've had a very tight timeline, which, in my opinion, is very uncomfortable anyway. But we would have been in a much better position, I feel like, with the taxpayers if we have a list of our needs that's constantly ongoing. And especially with this, if we could have pushed something out there as soon as we knew about it, stating these needs, I think that would have been a little easier to swallow.
But we have read it the last two board meetings.
I feel like it might even be more than that we've been talking about this list. More than two, I feel.
I do too, and I can't. But I mean, we talked about the classrooms. We've talked about.
Yeah.
It's been on the board newsletter, so we are aware.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that everybody else is paying attention to that. So it's just my opinion.
No, yeah.
I am very much in favor of trying to keep our public learning as much about what we're doing, what's going on as absolutely possible, and sharing it with them. I kind of feel that this situation, again, we just said it, is really, really unique.
It is.
I'm one who, you're sitting here talking about taxes and going up and going down and all this. I'm the one who looks at what I write on my check, and that's what my concern is. But I'm also concerned with what's going on with our district and all the people in there. But I think this is just such we're always needing to do things. There are things that need to get done. And this just gives us a really good chance to get a lot of those things done.
Is anybody from the public that's wanting to make a comment in regards to the public hearing? Okay. Next step.
So the next step would be to close the public hearing. Note the time for your minutes.
All right, so 7:08.
7:08.
Yep.
And then the next item on the agenda is a public hearing for the additional appropriation. So again, this is to take comments from the public on the appropriation of proceeds of any bond that you would issue.
So we need to mark that part of the public hearing is now open.
Okay, I'll marking it as 7:08 also.
There you go. Hurry, or it'll be 7:09 quickly.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any comment regarding the appropriations?
I do. So basically, when you say appropriation, it's permission to spend, right? So you're having a public hearing to say that that people will agree with permission to spend whatever projects they're working on. Is that what you're doing?
You're pulling the proceeds of the bonds into their budget, much like you do for the regular budget, to say, hey, here's our whole budget, here's the amounts that we're going to spend. The proceeds of the bonds weren't in that. And so now you're saying, hey, we're potentially going to issue some bonds, and, these funds need to be pulled into our budget. So let us know if you have comments on that.
Okay. But would you agree that the word appropriation is basically giving permission
To spend, right? If you do not
Yeah.
appropriate it into your budget, then it's not part
It's
of
a-
your budget.
it's
a-
Already spent.
It's let's see, a formality of the budget. I mean, when we pass the budget, we have to pass the appropriations.
Okay.
So then did you ask for public comment? I'm sorry.
I think we did. Yeah.
So then it would be time to close the hearing.
7:10.
At least I killed a minute for
So then the next item is the 1028 resolution. So again, this is statutorily required when you're going to have a project that will be payable from property taxes that will cost over $1 million. You guys held the public hearing on this. And if you look at your packet, it approves the project with the broad description like we discussed. It makes the finding that the project is necessary to provide better educational opportunities for students in the school corporation. And then it goes through the statutorily required reference to the tax impact that Matt outlined in his presentation. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on it.
So we'll entertain a motion to approve the 1028 resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the consideration for the 1028 resolution.
Second.
I will second it.
So we have a motion by Mrs. Wells, seconded by Mr. Colley. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Sign that.
Yep. So yeah, you can, whenever you guys would do it. So then,
You will not sign it, okay? So just want to make sure. I had to ask about that because I was going, okay, there's no place to check no, so, yeah.
so the next item on your agenda is the bond resolution. So this goes through the specifics that Steeple talked through, the parameters, for the issuance of the bond. The not to exceed amount, the not to exceed maturity amount. And again, these are all parameters. And it goes through all the authorizations necessary to issue the bonds. Assuming this passes tonight and the appropriation resolution passes tonight, Steeple will put together a preliminary official statement or a term sheet, depending on, how they think best to market the bonds. And it goes through authorizing that. We will, once that's sent out, they'll find a bidder, and it authorizes all the documents necessary to memorialize the issuance of the bond and the purchase of the bond by that purchaser. And that would happen probably the first or second week of December, with closing and funds available in late December. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the consideration of the bond resolution.
Second.
I'll second.
So a motion by Mr. Schmidt, and seconded by Mrs. Will, to approve the consideration of the bond resolution. Any other comments or questions?
Do you want to approve the bond resolution or approve consideration? I'm sorry. Just be real,
Sorry.
real technical.
Yeah.
Sorry.
To approve the bond resolution.
I'm scratching this consideration. This wording.
It was considered.
Okay.
We're approving
Yeah.
it. It was my bad on the wording there.
Sorry.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mrs. Will, to approve the bond resolution. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Hey, Jacob, I got page 13.
So that is the form of bond.
Okay.
So that doesn't need to be signed.
Does not need to be
So
signed.
when that, it'll be that very last page.
Okay, so very last page is signed. Okay.
And then the last item related to the bonds is the consideration of the appropriation resolution. So again, you all held the appropriation hearing, and this appropriates the proceeds of the bonds once they're sold into the budget. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the additional appropriation resolution.
Second.
I'll second it.
So a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Colley to approve the additional appropriation resolution. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-1.
So Jacob, that page 13,
So when the bonds are priced,
We'll pull that out, and that's the form of bond. That's what the
All right,
bond looks
gotcha.
like. And I guess just for reference, that we'll have documents once Steeple is able to sell the bonds, and assuming that you guys agree to proceed with that, we'll send a packet that'll be tabbed up, and it'll be the president and secretary that will sign most of the documents, and then Mr. Galvin will probably have a few to sign. But we'll get that to you in a couple weeks between pricing and closing, and we'll try to make it as long as we can if there's a holiday in the middle.
gotcha.
So.
Do you need copies of this?
I would take copies of the resolutions, but maybe if you want to scan them to me tomorrow, so I don't
Okay.
take your only copy.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's okay.
Right, any other questions for these two gentlemen, so they can head back to Indianapolis?
Matt, do you have a card?
Guys, thank you for your help on this.
Thanks for having us.
Safe travels.
Nice to meet you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys. Ready to go on, Mr. President?
Yep, you're up.
All right, next up this evening, we have for your consideration, Mrs. Moats and I have been working on several of the files that we have downstairs in the basement. We have all the stuff that we got from New Harmony that's been pretty well just sitting there for, 6 or 7 years, I guess, or maybe longer than that. So we have also a lot of very original files that are starting to just, that was kind of on very thin paper and starting to rip and things like that. So we got two quotes. One was from Von Osdale and Farrar, which was a very sizable quote of $121,495. And then we received a quote from Information and Records Associates. They are actually right now completing this with Posey County government. They're going through and scanning their documents and stuff. And so mainly what this will allow us to do is they'll take our documents in the basement, they'll scan them, then they're put on cloud to where if someone would call and say, hey, I need my transcript from 1926, then somebody can go in here and type in that person's name or graduation. There's usually 3 different ways to search, and then we can pull that up and send it to them. And so it really it mainly is moving all the stuff that's on paper over to electronic version. A few years ago, when I was still at Fort Branch, our central office caught on fire, and all of those records were lost in that fire. And so this is something that definitely helps to protect those records as we move forward and stuff. And so we asked for a third bid. That gentleman came out, kind of looked at it, but we never did get a bid from them. And so what we are proposing tonight is recommending the actual Information and Records Associates for $26,383.51. We would do that actually over the next 2 budget years. So we would do half of that in 2023 and the other half in 2024. So that's kind of the way we would split that up a little bit to where it doesn't hit the budget a lot. But that is pretty well taking care of all of our files downstairs.
So what happens to the originals?
Sure.
You get shredded?
Yeah. They send it to us, we look at the digital file, and if we're happy for it, then they shred it for us.
And that's part of the proposal,
Okay.
is the shredding of that.
Are all of these files that are down there requirements to keep? I mean, are there things in there that are?
Like, finance files, I think we're supposed to keep forever,
Definitely.
indefinitely.
Transcripts.
Yeah, and it's like, we have an entire wall down there of all of our finance files going back to, I don't know when, so.
Are most of the files that we're getting right now from here on, are they already digital?
Because I think what we've been trying to do is move things to digital, so. And this really kind of also became a big issue when we brought on special education, because we had, 21 file cabinets.
Those are already digital. That's not included in this.
Yeah, so, but we had several file cabinets that came over from Mount Vernon that we had to store downstairs, so we kind of felt like, okay, we need to start kind of
Clean.
getting this stuff cleaned up and stuff, so.
It's only been 10 years.
How long of a process is it? I mean, is it gonna take 2 years to do this, or is it?
We could do it all in 1 year, it's just I didn't want to hit the budget that hard for something like
Yeah,
this.
but I mean, the actual job, is that gonna be spread out over 2 years, or is it?
I don't really know, I think they acted like, a couple of months maybe?
Well, if we're only gonna pay them half of the time, they're only gonna do half.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
they're
I
not
mean,
gonna do it all the way to payment next year.
as far as timeline, I don't know how long it really takes them to do it per se. I think, if I remember right, one of them we were talking to, so maybe.
It's a long process.
It wasn't
Just
a
getting
long
on their
process.
schedule was probably
Yeah.
the longest part of it, and then they'll come out and collect it, and then they go through it and have a million people.
I can't imagine the job of going through each.
I just did the archives of the board minutes many, many years ago. And that's why all the board, and process was just,
Days and
just,
days.
oh my God. Now, some of it was kind of interesting to read the old minutes as you were scanning, but I can't imagine doing that entire basement down there.
So we bring that forward for your consideration this evening, Mr. President.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Information and Records Associates.
Second.
I'll second it.
So a motion by Mr. Oakley, seconded by Mr. Colley. Any other comments or questions? I am glad that you got a second bid though after the first one.
Yes,
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Okay, the next two are directly connected to, as you are aware, we wrapped up the replacement of the junior high rooftop unit that we were paying out of our ESSER funds. So that was installed. We got that done and tested and everything, the HVAC system. But in that process, we actually ran into some issues. The first one was the controls that were connected to that. We very easily could have done a cheaper process that would have just handled just that RTU unit, but would not allowed us for future expansion or future growth or even future connecting other units into it and stuff. And so we talked about it. We felt like we had some ESSER 3 funds left. As I've kind of shared with the board, I'd like to get things done right first time to where then we move on. So that's kind of what this first one is that this is a control system at the North Posey Junior High School that will be hooked in to the actual new RTU unit. Part is not going to be the full $14,875. I mean, yes, it's going to cost that much, but we have about $4,000 left in the contingency. So, so that will be spent, as well as we'll pull the rest out of ESSER 3 funds. And then the other one down there was when we were doing this, there's a faulty fire damper in there. And so we could have put this off, but you know, with the fireman being on my board, you know, I felt like to me, a faulty fire damper is not a good thing to have. So I thought, okay, we need to get this replaced. And so we are, that's going to be the cost of $1412 is what that is. So anyway, you can take them separate, but I wanted to explain to you that they're kind of all connected in with that RTU unit. So.
All right. We're gonna do them separate, or are we gonna take them all together?
Let's put them together. Yep.
I'm all for that. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve both of those projects as presented by Mr. Galvin.
I'll make the motion to approve both of them.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Oakley. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next for your consideration, we have a service agreement with Thrive After School Program. This after school program is actually located in Mount Vernon. They reached out to us because they needed help with some bus driver training. They have to provide their own bus drivers to take students to their program in the afternoon. They did reach out to Mount Vernon first, and I spoke with Dr. Thompson as well, just to kind of make sure that, you know, all of that was clear and that they just do not have the capacity to train the drivers or provide bus maintenance service on their 172 passenger bus. So I spoke with Mr. Goebel here in our garage and asked if he felt like this was something that he could take on and would he want to take on. And he was happy to do that. We had a sample agreement that was shared with us of another school district that also does this for a parochial school that has their buses. And so we modeled it off of that agreement and the cost. So this would be no cost to us at all. We would charge them the hourly rate that's on here, $65 an hour. They would provide all their own parts and oil and, you know, all the things. And so basically Bernie would be doing maintenance, regular oil changes, getting it ready for inspection. Anything that went above just sort of regular maintenance, he would give them an opinion and have them take it to wherever, you know, would need to go.
And the $75 an hour, is that covering Bernie's salary? Is that what it's?
$65 an hour would be for his time. This would go to the corporation though, not directly to Bernie.
And what is Thrive After School? I mean, is it like a
It's an after-school program.
preschool or
I believe they go all the way up through middle school.
is that the one that they have in Mount Vernon? They do in Mount Vernon? Okay. I knew they had a after school.
I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for the proposal with Thrive After School.
Second.
I'll second it.
So a motion by Mrs. Will, seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the proposal with the Thrive After School Program to provide their service and training for the bus transportation. Any comments or questions?
Just an added note that the partnership and being able to train their drivers is probably going to allow us to have two new sub drivers.
Woohoo!
So that's exciting.
Yeah, you should have led with that.
I kind of forgot about it until I got to this, and then.
I mean, their drivers would maybe be subs for us then.
Yeah, so they have two drivers getting trained so that they always have a backup. And so obviously the one that's going to drive in the afternoon wouldn't be available to sub in the afternoons for us, but he's willing to sub in the mornings. And then their backup was willing to sub for us morning and afternoon.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Next up, you have there the list of professional leave requests. Heather Brando and Wesley Scherzinger request to go to Project Lead the Way training. Amanda Reynolds is requesting going to the school counselor conference. Amy Duvall is requesting to go to the fall professionals conference, and then Michelle and I are requesting to go to the Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents annual meeting. So you have those requests there in front of you for your consideration.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the professional leave request.
Second.
I'll second.
So a motion by Mr. Oakley, seconded by Mr. Colley, to approve the professional leave request as presented by Mr. Galvin. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
We don't really have any reports this evening, but I do want to recognize our Spellbowl team. This past weekend placed third in the state, I believe. So outstanding. And I don't know if anybody saw the little, was it 6? So, but anyway, I don't know if anybody saw the little the Facebook post that Amy Duvall sent out last week. We had state competitors all over the place. FFA, Spellbowl, I'm trying to think of what else we had going.
some kind of flyer performance?
Yes, yeah. But I mean, it was a really nice little, and I even told her, I said, I couldn't share it. So she said, I know, I'm gonna try to go back in and figure out how I can help you share it. But anyway, all over the place, we were doing some great things with our kids last week. And so we're gonna get that out through our good news report. But with just really some great things happening with our kids and stuff. And so very proud of them and what they're accomplishing. And so we're going into the winter sports. As you know, tonight is our actually Friday night, I think, was our first girls home basketball game against Gibson Southern, and they're playing tonight. So we're excited to be going into the home season, and Thanksgiving's around the corner and stuff.
So I got a text while we were in the meeting that the South Terrace Spellbowl team won their regional Spellbowl
Good deal.
competition.
Wow.
We recognize different groups at the board meeting. What was the level that caused them to be recognized?
Usually if it's a-
Sectional champions?
Yeah, it's
or-
usually if it's something, like if they go to state, is definitely, of course, one. I think the girls volleyball team last year, we recognized because we had never been that far, if I remember
It was
correctly.
after their season, they
It was after their semi, and then they lost in semi-state, but that was the furthest we'd ever been. We've recognized some wrestlers before that have
For
gone to state.
It's
So
typically state.
Max
Renshaw
last year.
went last year.
I thought we would recognize some cross-country runners for semi-state.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just thought we put a level, that it was semi-state level or regional level or something. I didn't know.
And it's kind of, like I said, there's times that we feel like that this is something we've never done in the history of our Posey before, so let's bring the kid in and recognize them. And I think the thing is that it's great recognizing kids and what they're doing.
Anytime you can do that.
Yeah. So I think next month, we're actually bringing in a group of kids. I'm not gonna tell you for what, it'll be a surprise, but I think you'll enjoy it. It's one of our new programs that we've started at the junior high. So I think it'll be a fun night for you guys. So.
I saw the We the People
Yes.
group
That was
came in
good.
on
That
their,
was really good.
came in on their day off, and
And they did very well this past weekend too. That was the other group that did.
it was just neat to see. I mean, normally we get, it's more athletic based, and all these were academic based. And
Yeah.
shows the well-roundedness.
We're going to be going state for etymology. I think it's like, it's
There you
bugs.
go.
Question.
It's bugs. Yeah.
I
Yes.
have a
Bill.
question. Are you saying etymology like language or entomology like the insects?
My fault. Entomology. I was saying it wrong. Yes.
So it's
Thank you,
insects,
Lois.
okay.
Right,
I just wanted to make
right in your,
I know.
yeah.
Tomato, tomato.
My bailiwick, right, okay, but entomology.
There you go. All right.
So yes, our next board meeting will be Monday, December the 12th, 2022, here in the central office. So that's all we have for this evening, Mr. President.
Does anybody else have anything for the good of the order? All right, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I'll say. Go ahead.
We have a motion by Mr. Collins, seconded by Mr. Oakley. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Saturday,
What?
first ever girls swim